Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from 8th group. We will explain about sources of inequality. But before all, we will introduce our members of group. The first is me myself, Veny Alivionita Sari. The second is Umi Sakina. The third is Citra Saputri. Inequality is the structural result of historical processes of social, political, cultural group dominance. Group dominance is a form of social power, namely the exercise of illegitimate or unacceptable group control of dominant group A over dominated group B. The dominant group A is able to control the dominated group B because of its material or immaterial power resources, such as wealth, status, work, education, or knowledge. Group A will ensure that Group B will have no or less access to such resources. This is the core of the concept of inequality. Group dominance may involve control of actions and control of minds. Modern, more or less democratic forms of dominance are usually mental. These operate by manipulation or persuasion. Discourse and communication are the main channels for this mental control, that is, for the production of social cognitions. Therefore, the dominant group will ensure that it maintains privilege, access to, and control over the means of this kind of symbolic reproduction. The next is sources of inequality, gender, profession, and institution, which will be explained by Umi Sakina.
My name is Umi Sakina, and then the next is sources inequality, which are gender, profession, and institution. The first is gender inequality. Gender inequality means that men and women are not equal and that gender affects an individual's living experience. These differences arise from distinction in biology, psychology, and cultural norms. For the example, I just found a thesis that entitled Revealing the Gender Inequality in Patricia McCormick's short Critical Discourse Analysis. The aim is to reveal the gender inequality between male and female in the novel. Used theory of Van Dijk's, the result shows that male tends to dominate over female. Male points have a responsibility they are to their own family. Moreover, women have limited decision powers. They will be abandoned by their husbands and they are not allowed to make their own choices due to the cultural or religion instruction. The second is profession inequality. I just found a news that the highlight is nurses have been invisible and undervalued for far too long. Women make up 19% of all nurses but less than a third of senior positions. They wouldn't treat other professions this badly. Usually, the other professions they are thinking of are dominated by men. In a joint report published on Wednesday by the Royal College of Nursing and Oxford Brookes University, we unequivocally ascribe most of the problems and challenges facing the image and status of nursing to the fact that the profession is and has historically been a female-dominated occupation. The long-standing view that care is a naturally feminine skill or characteristic overlooked and devalues the high level of skill and professionalism nurses have. The third is institution inequality. The first, all member states there are substantial right-wing groups and parties that openly incite racial hatred and regularly attack minority or other non-European immigrants, whereas such parties may get up to 10% or 20% of the local vote. Their anti-immigrant ideologies are sometimes supported by even larger percentage of the population. Virtually none of these groups or parties are prohibited by law, and their actions seldom prosecuted. Second, Belgium. Despite many complaints, no right-wing political party have ever been convicted for making racist statements against immigrants, even in publicly distributed leaflets. This is hardly surprising when we also know that a Minister of Interior in 1987 himself called immigrant barbarian. The mayor of the Brussels borough had 150,000 copies of information brochure distributed in schools depicting North Africans as terrorists and fundamentalists. Again, this may be accepted when we also know that a royal decree of May 7, 1985 allowed 6 Brussels boroughs to be certain foreigners from living in the borough.
Next, I am Citra Saputri. I will explain about criticism of critical discourse analysis. Criticism of critical discourse analysis comes from scholars in the area of conversation analysis and other fields of text analysis. There are some critiques towards critical discourse analysis. Skigloff argues that CDA is often short on detailed, systematic analysis of the text or talk. Wetherell argues that CDA uses conversation as data and analyzes this at least partly from a CA perspective. And CA addresses societal, political, and critical issues. While CDA is interested in social problems, CA is concerned with structure problems in the organization of conversation. We doesn't claim that CDA is an ideological interpretation and therefore not an analysis. He argues analysis ought to mean the examination of several interpretations, and in the case of CDA, this is not possible because of prior judgment. Fairclough, he points out that CDA, unlike most other approaches, is always explicit about its own position and commitment. Tullen and Stubbs make some criticism of CDA, arguing for a strengthening of the theorization of CDA. Tullen argues that some theoretical distinction in CDA, such as difference between description and interpretative explanation, need to be further clarified. Second, CDA needs to be critical and more demanding of the text linguistic it uses. Third, in doing CDA, true and strong evidence should be collected for the arguments. In Stubbs' view, CDA provides no systematic comparisons between text and norms in the language, and he said that language and truth can only be related if one has data and theory pertinent to both, otherwise the theory is circular. Thank you.